People are often remembered only for their greatest successes or failures. And for Oppenheimer, this meant being the genius leading the team that, for the first time in history, unlocked the energy of the atom and managed to create a bomb. To some, he was the person who instantly ended World War II, saving millions of lives. And to others, he was the mastermind behind the mass killing of hundreds of thousands in a matter of seconds. In short, he was known as the father of the atomic bomb. But people are not just defined by their greatest successes or failures. For instance, Oppenheimer was not just a brilliant physicist. He was also a lover of poetry, possessed an incredible intellect and charisma that mesmerized everyone he spoke to, could speak or understand 7 different languages, including Latin and Sanskrit, had a passion for horseback riding, and was a master at breaking up families due to his fondness for women. All of these came together to write Oppenheimer's story, filled with contradictions and mysticism. J. Robert Oppenheimer was born in 1904 in New York, into a wealthy family. His family consisted of Jewish immigrants who had come to America from Europe and found success in the textile industry. This wealth opened many doors for Oppenheimer, greatly contributing to his education and intellectual development. From an early age, Oppenheimer had a deep passion for books and learning. With the opportunities provided by his wealthy family, he was able to develop himself in various fields from a young age. Not only did he engage in mathematics and science, but he also developed an interest in literature and languages, becoming a well-rounded intellectual. Young Robert's interests spanned from art and literature to philosophy, which laid the foundation for him to become a scientist with a broad worldview. Oppenheimer continued his education at Harvard University, where he honed his skills in physics. His time at Harvard further solidified his interest in the world of theoretical physics. The academic environment and intellectual atmosphere he encountered at the university deepened his passion for science. His outstanding achievements in mathematics earned him scholarships and opportunities to work in Europe. There, he had the chance to meet some of the most respected physicists of the time, with whom he would later collaborate on major projects. Oppenheimer's life in America marked the beginning of a career that would revolutionize science and a journey full of personal exploration. The opportunities provided by his privileged background formed the foundation for the lasting impact he would leave in the world of science. His school years were an interesting period that revealed his intellectual potential early on. From a young age, his passion for learning and hunger for knowledge attracted the attention of his teachers. In his first years of school, his success in class and quick learning were immediately noticed by those around him. Oppenheimer attended the prestigious Ethical Culture School in New York, where the education he received helped develop his critical thinking and questioning skills. This school emphasized not only academic success, but also the importance of ethical values and social responsibility. The values he learned there shaped him not only scientifically, but also in terms of social and ethical responsibilities. During his educational journey, he began to show himself in various fields that deepened his interest in both science and art. His talent in the sciences quickly caught the attention of his teachers, but his strong interest in literature and languages was equally remarkable. Thanks to his ability to think creatively, Oppenheimer was drawn to discussions that went beyond classical science, and this perspective allowed him to develop innovative approaches in his scientific work. The friendships he formed during his early school years and the education he received greatly influenced his worldview and scientific thinking. The strong foundations he built during these years shaped the way he would approach complex problems in the future. At that time, he had already embraced the idea that everything is interconnected, a perspective that would later be reflected in his theories of physics and efforts to integrate different disciplines. These early years in Oppenheimer's educational journey were of critical importance to his scientific and personal development. The curiosity and desire for knowledge that were shaped during this time laid the foundation for his lifelong pursuit of understanding. Oppenheimer's academic journey was a transformative process that left deep marks on the world of science. He began his journey in the field of chemistry, but it eventually led him to become one of the most important figures in the world of physics. His interest in chemistry was the result of a curiosity that began in his youth, and this curiosity eventually led to broader scientific discoveries. He started his academic career by studying chemistry at Harvard University, but over time his interest in physics grew stronger. The theoretical insights he developed based on his knowledge of chemistry played a crucial role in this shift. His transition from chemistry to physics allowed him to approach scientific problems from a multifaceted perspective and laid the foundation for the theories he would later develop. Oppenheimer began to make a name for himself with his work on quantum mechanics and its theorems. His fascination with the complex world of physics pushed him not only to seek answers to scientific questions, but also to go beyond the existing knowledge. During this time, his passion for understanding how particles came together and interacted in larger systems grew. But his main focus remained on atomic-level interactions. By the late 1920s, as quantum mechanics began to reshape the scientific world, Oppenheimer made significant contributions to this field. While working in Europe with Max Born, Niels Bohr, and other prominent physicists, he had the opportunity to deeply understand quantum theory. This experience made a significant contribution to shaping his scientific approach. These milestones in physics allowed him to make important strides in understanding the behavior of subatomic particles. This journey, which began with an understanding of atomic energy and quantum physics, eventually led Oppenheimer to head the Manhattan Project. His scientific journey enabled him to bridge the gap between theoretical physics and practical application. In conclusion, Oppenheimer's journey from chemistry to physics demonstrated his ability to bring together scientific pieces and revolutionize the world of science. This process made critical contributions not only to the field of physics, but also to humanity's effort to understand nature. Of course, Cambridge life, Oppenheimer surrounded by Nobel-winning geniuses, is another part of his academic journey, which took him to Cambridge University, one of the centers of Europe's scientific community. The years he spent there played a crucial role in shaping and deepening his scientific thinking. Cambridge was one of the places where the brightest minds of the era gathered, and Oppenheimer greatly benefited from this rich intellectual environment. When Oppenheimer arrived at Cambridge, he found himself among many world-renowned scientists. This experience expanded his scientific understanding and further fueled his hunger for knowledge. While keeping up with the latest developments in quantum mechanics and theoretical physics, Oppenheimer also began to contribute his own insights to these fields. Engaged with Nobel laureates such as Ernest Rutherford and Paul Dirac, Oppenheimer found himself in discussions surrounding the fundamental problems of atomic physics. These interactions not only deepened his knowledge, but also gave him the opportunity to carve out a unique place for himself in the scientific community. Acquiring deep knowledge of theoretical physics, Oppenheimer would later skillfully apply this knowledge in his own research. However, life at Cambridge was not limited to science alone. At that time, it was expected that one would not only develop academically, but also grow through social relationships and personal interests. Thanks to the friendships he formed and the social networks he entered, Oppenheimer had the chance to gain different perspectives and combine science with art. The intellectually enriching years at Cambridge opened the doors for him to become a well-rounded scientist in many fields. The experience and connections he gained during this period eventually guided him toward the Manhattan Project, which would place him on the world stage. His time at Cambridge laid the foundation for later breakthroughs that would leave a significant mark not only on the scientific world, but also on human history. Oppenheimer's life at Cambridge became one of the focal points of his career, where science and art intertwined and the exchange of knowledge and innovation reached its peak. Despite many successes throughout his life, his personality and behavior sometimes reflected contradictory and complex aspects. A particularly striking and dark event from his youth is often cited as an early indication of his troubled side. This event was the alleged attempt to poison his advisor, Patrick Blackett, during his time at Cambridge University. The details of the incident remain unclear, but it is said that Oppenheimer, during a time when he felt under pressure and faced various challenges in his academic life, was experiencing serious stress. During this period of intense pressure, it is suggested that Oppenheimer may have faced psychological issues, with his behavior occasionally going to extremes. The conflict with his advisor, Patrick Blackett, reportedly created a tense relationship. According to rumors, Oppenheimer allegedly planned to poison Blackett by adding a toxic chemical to his food. However, this attempt either failed or was not fully executed. It is said that Blackett either realized what was happening or was lucky enough not to be harmed. This behavior led to disciplinary issues at the university, as it was taken seriously by those around him. However, there were aspects of the incident that were either not reported or covered up, and the matter was eventually resolved without serious legal consequences. Nevertheless, this event became a symbol of Oppenheimer's complex personality and internal struggles. The combination of psychological problems and career pressures cast a shadow over Oppenheimer's later life. Throughout history, both his genius and contributions, as well as this incident, have sparked debates about his personality. Such events serve as examples of how genius and turbulent personalities can sometimes coexist. Oppenheimer's academic career and scientific curiosity led him to various prestigious universities and research centers in Europe. This period was seen as an opportunity for him not only to acquire academic knowledge, but also to develop revolutionary ideas in science. The late 1920s and early 1930s were years filled with knowledge and inspiration for Oppenheimer in Europe. After his time at Cambridge, Oppenheimer moved to Germany to work at the University of Göttingen. There, he had the opportunity to collaborate with Max Born, one of the fathers of quantum mechanics. Göttingen was considered the center of quantum theory at the time, and Oppenheimer met and benefited from the ideas of many leading physicists such as Werner Heisenberg, Wolfgang Pauli, and Enrico Fermi. Through these interactions, he deepened his knowledge of quantum mechanics and made groundbreaking contributions to theoretical physics. During this time, his work on quantum mechanics and atomic theory quickly gained attention in the scientific community. By studying the behavior of subatomic particles, Oppenheimer contributed to theoretical work that successfully explained the wave-particle nature of these particles. Additionally, his research helped develop new insights into atomic energy and nuclear reactions, paving the way for his leadership in the Manhattan Project. Oppenheimer's years in Europe were crucial, not only for his own research, but also for becoming part of the international scientific community. The relationships he built with scientists advocating and developing the most innovative ideas of the time expanded his intellectual horizons and deeply impacted his scientific method and thinking style. These years in Europe marked a turning point in Oppenheimer's scientific career. The work and successes he achieved there established him as one of the brightest minds in the field of physics, a visionary in theoretical physics, and earned him global recognition. His European tour became a significant period symbolizing the beginning of his revolutionary contributions to science. Not only noted for his scientific achievements, but also for the complex and controversial situations he faced in his personal life. One such event occurred at the California Institute of Technology, Caltech. While working there with the famous chemist Linus Pauling, Oppenheimer became involved in a scandal due to his romantic interest in Pauling's wife, Eva Helen Pauling. The Caltech years were an important period in Oppenheimer's career and a place where he formed close relationships with many important scientists. Linus Pauling, one of the leading chemists of the time, was collaborating with Oppenheimer on joint projects in chemistry and physics. However, Oppenheimer's relationship with the Pauling family quickly crossed professional boundaries. According to reports, Oppenheimer began to show romantic interest in Eva Helen Pauling, which caused unrest within the Pauling family and even within the scientific community. When Linus Pauling found out, he became very angry and ended both his personal and professional relationship with Oppenheimer, bringing their collaboration to an end. This event is often cited as an example of the complexities in Oppenheimer's personal life. Throughout his career, his romantic life and personal relationships sometimes led to situations that affected his professional life. Losing his professional relationship with a prestigious scientist like Linus Pauling was one of the consequences of these behaviors. Such actions are seen as a reflection of Oppenheimer's complex personality and emotionally intense nature. While his scientific genius was unquestionable, it is evident that his emotional life and personal choices impacted his career and relationships. Oppenheimer was a man of deep passions, not only in his scientific life, but also in his personal life. He had two great loves. One was theoretical physics, and the other was the vast desert land in the American Southwest that brought him peace. These two passions came together to shape Oppenheimer's character. For Oppenheimer, theoretical physics was a constant field of discovery and innovation. His work in quantum mechanics and atomic physics earned him a respected position in the scientific community. While tackling complex problems in the world of physics, his innovative ideas continually advanced his contributions to science. To him, physics was not just a field of study, it was a passionate pursuit, an area where his boundless curiosity reached its full potential. Oppenheimer's love for the desert provided a different kind of satisfaction. He purchased a farm near Abiquiu in New Mexico, which he named Perro Caliente. This place became a sanctuary in his life, offering him a space to quiet his thoughts and find tranquility. The silence and vastness of the desert brought him deep peace, and its simplicity allowed him to refresh himself. The harsh and stark beauty of the desert became a space that balanced his scientific thoughts and inner calm. Even during the Manhattan Project, the desert landscape of New Mexico inspired Oppenheimer. The region where the Los Alamos laboratory was located was the perfect place to combine his two passions. Here, science and nature intertwined, and it laid the groundwork for the development of the atomic bomb, one of Oppenheimer's greatest projects. These two loves of Oppenheimer's life symbolize the contrasting aspects of his complex personality. While grappling with the intricate equations of science, he found stillness in the simplicity of the desert. The union of these two realms brought balance to his life and helped define Oppenheimer as not just a scientist, but also a nature enthusiast. The desert served as both a sanctuary and a source of peace for his thoughts. The time spent in the desert offered a respite from the intensity of his scientific pursuits, renewing his mind and allowing him to return to his projects with fresh energy. J. Robert Oppenheimer is remembered not only for his scientific accomplishments, but also for his unique charisma and leadership abilities. The scientists around him were influenced not only by his theoretical brilliance, but also by the allure of his personality. These charismatic qualities became particularly evident while he led the Manhattan Project, placing him at the center of a fiery circle. The Manhattan Project, an initiative to develop the atomic bomb during World War II, tasked Oppenheimer with the difficult responsibility of managing a team of complex scientists and uniting them around a common goal. His scientific knowledge and sharp intuition earned him respect, granting him great authority among other researchers. However, one of the key factors in the project's success was Oppenheimer's captivating personality. Oppenheimer was able to bring together people from diverse disciplines and ensure they worked in harmony. His vision helped participants see themselves as part of a critical mission, keeping their motivation high. Moreover, his intellectual bravery and broad perspective in scientific discussions encouraged the emergence of creative solutions. During this process, Oppenheimer's leadership in the fire circle became a defining feature, making him not just a manager, but also a role model and a source of inspiration. His trust in his team and his empathy strengthened their sense of unity, even under challenging working conditions. His compelling communication style and charismatic presence made him stand out, not only in the scientific community, but also in the broader public. Thanks to Oppenheimer's charismatic leadership, the Manhattan Project became not only a scientific triumph, but also an exemplary case of how human resources could be most effectively utilized. His leadership in this fire circle became one of the key elements that defined his historical role and made him unique. This period represented the peak of Oppenheimer's scientific career and also showcased his multifaceted talents. As one of the significant figures in modern physics, Oppenheimer is renowned for his contributions to science. Particularly, his groundbreaking work in theoretical physics led to his recognition not just as a scientist, but also as a thinker. A crucial turning point in his career came with his work laying the theoretical foundations of black holes. In the early 1930s, Oppenheimer and his student Hartland Snyder, within the framework of Einstein's general theory of relativity, conducted studies on the life cycles of stars. These studies laid the theoretical groundwork for the idea that large mass stars could collapse at the end of their life cycles to form black holes. Their 1939 paper, titled On the Supernovae of Stars and Singular Collapses, described a point where gravitational forces become so strong due to a star's excessive density that it forms an event horizon. This presented a mathematical proof for the existence of black holes, a theory that later became a significant milestone in astrophysics. Until that time, black holes had only been viewed as abstract mathematical curiosities. Oppenheimer and Snyder's work strengthened the idea that these phenomena could indeed exist, laying the foundation for future detailed research on the nature of black holes. Oppenheimer's contribution, alongside his work in quantum mechanics and nuclear physics, added profound depth to modern physics. His theoretical work on the formation and characteristics of black holes allowed the astrophysics community to think more deeply about one of the universe's most extraordinary and mysterious objects, steering future research in this direction. Oppenheimer's contributions to science were not limited to black holes. His work in nuclear reactions, quantum mechanics, and atomic theory paved the way for numerous breakthroughs and developments. His theoretical works serve as enduring proof of his intellectual legacy and continue to impact the scientific world. In addition to his scientific achievements, Oppenheimer's interest in politics and his complex relationship with this field also drew attention. Initially apolitical, Oppenheimer became increasingly interested in politics due to the evolving world events and his personal experiences. In the mid-20th century, the world was shaken by significant political changes. Oppenheimer found himself amidst these transformations, particularly during World War II, when he took on a leadership role in the Manhattan Project. This project, beyond being a scientific endeavor, also involved significant political and ethical responsibilities. The decisions regarding the development and use of the atomic bomb prompted Oppenheimer to reflect deeply on science and ethics. After the war, Oppenheimer became more active in advocating for the control and peaceful use of nuclear weapons. Recognizing the influence of scientific knowledge on policy, he voiced opinions on the development of civilian nuclear energy programs and the prevention of nuclear weapons proliferation. During this period, he served as an advisor in U.S. relations with the Soviet Union, contributing to international peace and security efforts. However, Oppenheimer's political interests also brought challenges. His past left-wing connections and political stance made him a target during the McCarthy era. In the infamous security investigation, his position on nuclear weapons development and his previous political affiliations were scrutinized. In 1954, his security clearance was revoked, significantly diminishing his influence on public policy. This experience left Oppenheimer with a personal sense of disillusionment, as he faced both a challenge to his reputation as a scientist and political pressure. As a result, Oppenheimer's career, which began as an apolitical scientist, was transformed into that of a political figure under the pressure of world events. This process played a significant role in his personal and professional development, highlighting the intersections of science and politics, while also providing a striking example of the challenges such experiences can present. It has been frequently discussed and debated, particularly during the Cold War era, due to the political atmosphere in the United States. In the early 1930s, like many intellectuals, Oppenheimer was involved with left-leaning ideas in some leftist circles. The Great Depression led many American intellectuals to explore various political and economic systems in the pursuit of social justice and equality. During this time, Oppenheimer attended meetings where communist ideas were discussed and participated in some activities. However, he never formally admitted to being a member of the Communist Party. Some of his family members and close friends had more direct relationships with the party, which placed Oppenheimer under scrutiny. In the late 1940s and early 1950s, particularly during the McCarthy era, a widespread witch hunt against communist sympathizers was underway in America. One of the pivotal events in Oppenheimer's career was the security hearing held in 1954. During this hearing, his past associations with the Communist Party and his pacifist stance on post-war nuclear policies were questioned. When the situation became more complex, Oppenheimer stated that he was not a member of the Communist Party, but may have participated in some left-leaning activities aimed at social justice. As a result of the hearing, Oppenheimer's security clearance was revoked, preventing him from holding an official role in nuclear policy and defense research. This marked a significant setback in his scientific and academic career. However, despite these setbacks, Oppenheimer largely maintained his respect in the academic world and continued his work at the Institute for Advanced Study at Princeton University. Oppenheimer's connections with leftist circles reflected his commitment to intellectual freedom and his interest in social justice issues. However, these relationships also became part of the serious political challenges he faced later in his career. Oppenheimer's life has become a historical example of the complex interaction between science and politics, as well as the importance of safeguarding intellectual freedom. Jean Tatlock was one of the deepest and most complex romantic relationships in Oppenheimer's life. Oppenheimer and Tatlock, who met in the 1930s when she was an undergraduate at Berkeley, developed a deep emotional bond. Tatlock was an intellectual in her own right and one of the young members of the Communist Party, which aligned with Oppenheimer's political views. While their relationship was based on shared understanding and a deep intellectual connection, it evolved amidst both sweet and painful memories. Oppenheimer's relationship with Tatlock became particularly noteworthy during the security hearings and the difficulties he faced later on. It is believed that his relationship with Tatlock contributed to his association with the Communist Party. Oppenheimer's emotional attachment to Tatlock became a deep wound in his life. Tatlock was an individual who valued personal freedom and was influential in fields ranging from medicine to politics. But she too had her own struggles and crises. Their relationship turned into a passionate and tragic love. When Jean Tatlock committed suicide in 1970, it left a profound mark on Oppenheimer. Another important woman in Oppenheimer's life was Catherine Kitty Punning. Kitty, whom he met in the early 1940s, brought a different direction to his life. Kitty, formerly known as Enid K. Fuchs, was a woman with a previous marriage. Oppenheimer grew closer to her when he met one of the scientists working with him during the Manhattan Project. Their time together helped them develop a deep love for each other. Oppenheimer and Kitty married in the mid-1940s. Kitty was a supportive partner in both Oppenheimer's scientific career and personal life. Their marriage helped Oppenheimer overcome some challenges in his life, particularly during times of increased security scrutiny and political pressure. Kitty provided Oppenheimer with a source of balance and stability. Their relationship, compared to his relationship with Tatlock, was more traditional and had a stronger orientation toward family life. However, while Oppenheimer continued his relationship with Kitty, he could not escape the shadow of his past with Tatlock. The Manhattan Project was one of the most comprehensive and secretive military programs initiated by the United States during World War II, aimed at developing the atomic bomb. One of the most notable aspects of this project was the gathering of the era's most talented scientists. In this regard, the Manhattan Project could be considered the Champions League of the scientific world. The Manhattan Project brought together many specialized scientists to form a powerful team. The team included Nobel Prize-winning physicists, chemists, engineers, and mathematicians. Among the prominent names were Enrico Fermi, a pioneering figure in nuclear physics. Fermi developed the first nuclear reactor, Chicago Pile 1. Richard Feynman. Feynman, who joined the team at a young age, later became famous for his work on quantum mechanics and fundamental physics. Niels Bohr. Known for his work on atomic structure and quantum mechanics, Bohr contributed significantly to the project as a consultant. Leo Szilard. Szilard, whose important work on atomic reactions and nuclear fission influenced the project, helped guide it alongside Oppenheimer. James Chadwick. Nobel laureate for the discovery of the neutron, Chadwick played a critical role in the early stages of the project. These scientists were highly regarded worldwide and combined their expertise to solve speculative and theoretical problems. Oppenheimer's leadership ensured the effective collaboration of this powerful group. The scientists worked intensely together, applying their knowledge from various disciplines to develop creative solutions for complex physical and engineering problems. This intellectual collaboration resulted in the fundamental components of the atomic bomb: uranium and plutonium fission, nuclear chain reactions, and the bomb's design and functionality. The scientists also developed innovative methods by combining knowledge from different fields, including radioactivity, chemical engineering, computer science, and reaction dynamics. In addition to the major scientific breakthroughs and successes, the scientists involved in the Manhattan Project inevitably faced ethical and moral dilemmas. While Oppenheimer and the others believed that the atomic bombs would play a critical role in ending the war, they were also concerned about the devastating effects of the bombs. In 1945, the bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki led to the end of the war. However, this victory also marked the beginning of a new era fraught with ethical dilemmas and the looming threat of nuclear weapons. The Manhattan Project became a platform where the greatest minds came together to address the most challenging and complex problems of science. This era pushed the boundaries of science and engineering and left a permanent mark on human history. Under Oppenheimer's leadership, the Champions League not only developed the atomic bomb, but also laid the groundwork for important discussions about the ethical responsibilities of science and world-changing outcomes. The project stands as a striking example of how scientists shaped world history by combining their knowledge and abilities. In the early 1940s, Oppenheimer became a prominent figure through his contributions to the Manhattan Project, which had a significant impact on both science and world history. Under his leadership, the best minds in nuclear physics came together to focus on developing the atomic bomb. Here is Oppenheimer's role and influence during this process. The Manhattan Project was a large-scale research and engineering project initiated by the U.S. government during World War II to develop the atomic bomb. Oppenheimer served as the scientific director of the project and played a key role in establishing and managing the laboratory at Los Alamos. His leadership allowed many scientists to collaborate on the project. Oppenheimer's passion for science and his leadership qualities greatly influenced the success of the project. Over time, he inspired the scientists to develop a synergy that helped solve complex problems. The team focused on the physical and engineering aspects of the atomic bomb and, under Oppenheimer's guidance, developed radical and innovative solutions. During this period, Oppenheimer became a star in the scientific community, his name becoming known not only for his own research, but also for the project's success. As the project progressed, Oppenheimer's ethical and moral dilemmas also grew. The consequences of continuing the atomic bomb project and its impact on the post-war world left deep marks in Oppenheimer's mind. Amid debates over the government's nuclear policies, Oppenheimer began to reflect on the responsibilities science brought with it. In conclusion, Oppenheimer became one of the most prominent and influential figures of the Manhattan Project. The project not only gained him international recognition, but also positioned him as a figure who questioned the role of science in human life. His burgeoning career highlighted the complex relationship between science, politics, and ethics, leaving a lasting impact on the history of modern physics and humanity. Through his leadership in the Manhattan Project, Oppenheimer emerged not only as a scientist, but also as a thinker and a person with societal responsibility. The first atomic bomb developed during World War II, Gadget, was one of the Manhattan Project's greatest achievements. The implosion-type design used in this bomb brought a revolutionary innovation in nuclear physics and engineering. Here are the details of this design and the development process of Gadget. The basic principle of implosion-type bombs is to bring a certain amount of nuclear material, typically uranium-235 or plutonium-239, to a critical mass in order to initiate a nuclear fission reaction. Gadget was the first bomb to use plutonium and formed the basis for the Fat Man bomb, which was dropped on Nagasaki. In designing Gadget, Oppenheimer and his team developed an implosion method to bring the plutonium to critical mass. This approach involved the use of conventional explosives placed around the plutonium core. When the outer explosives detonated, they compressed the plutonium core evenly, increasing its density enough to trigger nuclear fission. 1. Explosive configuration. The design required the use of different types of explosives arranged symmetrically around the plutonium core. This arrangement ensured the even compression of the plutonium during detonation. 2. Nuclear reaction. When the outer explosives were triggered, an inward pressure wave was created. This pressure compressed the plutonium core to a critical mass in a short period, causing the atoms to come together and initiate nuclear fission. 3. Extraordinary capabilities. Gadget's design was refined through extensive testing. The laboratory at Los Alamos conducted a series of tests to evaluate the effectiveness and reliability of the implosion-type bomb. Gadget was first detonated on July 16, 1945, during the Trinity Test in the New Mexico desert. This trial marked a historic moment, initiating the era of nuclear weapons. During the Trinity Test, the explosion of Gadget created a powerful fireball, destroying nearby sporadic objects. This experiment proved that the implosion-type design functioned successfully. The implosion-type Gadget is considered a significant turning point both technologically and ethically. The success of the Manhattan Project laid the foundation for the attacks on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, where the atomic bomb was used in war. The implosion design of Gadget also became an important reference point in the development of later nuclear weapons. As a result, the implosion-type gadget entered history with a complex and impressive design where physics and engineering came together. This design not only enhanced the effectiveness of the atomic bomb, but also created a significant shift in the development of nuclear weapons. Gadget became a milestone in the scientific world and raised ethical issues humanity would face in the nuclear age. The emotional conflicts in his life, combined with the pressures of his work life, caused deep wounds. Especially his relationship with Jean Tatlock complicated Oppenheimer's emotional state. Tatlock was a mind-expanding partner from Oppenheimer's youth, but the challenges in his life and his own inner crises brought their relationship to a breaking point. Tatlock's life was filled with many painful moments and losses for Oppenheimer. Ultimately, Tatlock's suicide left a deep void in Oppenheimer's life, making him feel the heavy burden of what had been lost alongside love. His love and loss affected him both mentally and led him to search for new directions in his scientific career. The first test of the atomic bomb was conducted on July 16, 1945, during the Trinity Test in New Mexico. Under Oppenheimer's leadership, the scientists developed the implosion-type bomb they named Gadget after a long and arduous process. This test was not just a success where engineering and scientific knowledge came together, but also the threshold where humanity first encountered nuclear weapons. The gadget detonated at a remote location, releasing an immense amount of energy and creating an apocalyptic fireball. This moment, besides being a turning point in Oppenheimer's scientific career, also brought with it the ethical dilemmas humanity would face. After the Trinity Test, Oppenheimer expressed the depth of this experience with a verse from the Bhagavad Gita. "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." These words demonstrate Oppenheimer's sense of the heavy responsibility of being one of the creators of the atomic bomb, as well as the international sensitivities involved. Oppenheimer felt the weight of the results of a scientific endeavor and interpreted this situation mystically. His complex feelings about the existence of the atomic bomb reminded him of both the creative and destructive powers he wielded. He would live with this inner conflict for the rest of his life. After the Trinity Test, Oppenheimer became the face of science in the United States. The success of the atomic bomb project made him a recognized figure, not only in scientific circles, but also on the international stage. He was no longer just a physicist, but a science leader. Beyond scientific thought, Oppenheimer played an influential role in guiding society. However, this recognition brought with it heavy societal pressure and criticism. Oppenheimer became a figure akin to a champion boxer, yet the battles in the ring were not only fought with scientific successes, but also with personal and ethical issues. The aftermath of the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki had a deep impact on Oppenheimer. The destructive power of the bombs and the millions of lives lost contradicted his ideals. In the post-war period, he began to question himself with his pacifist views. Struggling with guilt and a sense of responsibility, the end of the war was compounded by the loss of his love, Jean Tatlock, who had committed suicide. This period marked the beginning of Oppenheimer's opposition to such barbaric acts and his advocacy for scientific collaboration. His responses to these experiences throughout his life led to a depiction of a world marked by the effects of nuclear weapons. By the late 1940s, Oppenheimer's political history and connections began to raise suspicions about him. He had had connections with many socialists and communists, creating a foundation for accusations during the period. Especially during the McCarthy era, he was accused of having potential ties to the Soviet Union. During a security hearing, he had to face the fears and paranoia of that era. These accusations laid the groundwork for the collapse of Oppenheimer's career and created anxiety and uncertainty in his personal life. After the security hearing, Oppenheimer experienced a significant decline that had a major impact on his reputation and academic career. Once one of America's most respected scientists, Oppenheimer had become a figure questioned by society. As a result of the political pressures during the McCarthy era, his security clearance was revoked. This exclusion removed him from the scientific community and led him into an existential crisis. For Oppenheimer, this was a period where not only his career, but also his beliefs and work were called into question. With the revocation of his security clearance, Oppenheimer not only lost his scientific authority, but also began to be increasingly isolated from his social circles. Communication with his old friends diminished, and he found himself overwhelmed with feelings of loneliness. Society's exclusion of him led Oppenheimer into a state of deep despair. His position and influence in the scientific community were disappearing, and this left him alone with his dark thoughts. His ostracism affected him deeply, not only in his scientific world, but also in his personal life. After facing these difficulties, Oppenheimer decided to turn a new page in his life. In the mid-1950s, he returned to academia at Princeton University, experiencing a sort of rebirth. He revisited his thoughts on the ethical and moral aspects of science with a more pessimistic outlook. By establishing himself in the academic environment, he became an inspiration to young scientists. Oppenheimer, leaving behind the complex emotions and lost reputation of his past, was once again respected in the scientific community. The challenges he faced throughout his life led him to ask broader questions about humanity. In the mid-1960s, Oppenheimer was diagnosed with throat cancer. This forced him to confront the thought of his death. The weight of the choices he had made during the war, combined with his losses, created a heavy mental burden, especially when coupled with his illness. During the treatment process, he couldn't help but question his life and legacy, as well as his contributions to science and humanity. Even in his final days, he was deeply immersed in thoughts about the future of science and humanity's destiny. Oppenheimer's death brought continued frustration and anxiety about his legacy. Even after his death, the FBI continued to surveil and investigate his family. Due to Oppenheimer's relationships and past, his family was under immense pressure. The conflicts Oppenheimer faced during his life did not end with his death. His family was at the center of this pressure. Oppenheimer's legacy was filled not only with scientific achievements, but also with societal unrest. Despite their efforts to preserve his memory, his family lived through a period that left indelible marks on the lives of his sisters-in-law and children. J. Robert Oppenheimer's life offers an in-depth look at the complex relationship between science and humanity. Though Oppenheimer is remembered as a genius who opened the doors of modern science, his life was also filled with responsibility, moral dilemmas, and inner conflicts. The process of developing the atomic bomb represents a period where the boundaries of science were pushed, but it also forces us to question the impact of these powers on humanity. Oppenheimer lived a life filled with great successes and profound losses. The possibilities provided by science led to important changes in human history, yet the responsibilities that came with these changes cannot be ignored. Oppenheimer's inner conflicts remind us that, alongside the technological advancements brought about by modern science, we must also consider the ethical and moral dimensions. As scientists, one of our greatest responsibilities is to anticipate the consequences of the discoveries we make and the technologies we develop. Today, many lessons can be learned from Oppenheimer's story. While using the power of science, it is essential to question how this power aligns with human values. The Oppenheimers within us should not only achieve scientific successes, but also serve humanity and never forget their ethical and moral responsibilities. In conclusion, Oppenheimer's life and legacy offer us the opportunity to reflect on the responsibilities behind the power that the science offers. To maintain the balance between science and humanity, it is crucial that every individual, scientist, and societal leader is aware of their responsibilities. Oppenheimer's experiences serve as a warning to the scientific world, reminding us that the future of science will be shaped by lessons from the past. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more. See you in the next video. Goodbye.